let's talk about practicality of martial arts
Oh,
these days, maybe. Like,
that's always a good one.
yeah. I mean, realistically speaking, I think you can't look at martial arts from purely practical perspective anymore.
Very true.
Because if you do, then why would you invest all this time and effort? You can just go out, get a gun.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, and even with that,
yeah.
what's the practical use of that? You know, like what if, you know, you get the gun, you put it in the safe box, lock it away, and then they kick in your door and you can't get to the key.
Mm.
You know,
That's true.
it's like, you know, I think practicality changes. You know, things that were once practical are no longer practical, and I think that's where our sense and thoughts on practicality hold us back, because it's like, well, it's been practical, it's always working, and then time flips it. You know, practicality back in my day, you see somebody get beat up, you say, "Hey cop, hey police, excuse me." Practicality today is you pull out your phone and film it. You know, so I think, you know, practicality, as you said, can't define the martial art, because then a martial art that may not work, may not be practical today, probably was very practical 100 years ago. So it would be very hard to take something away. And I think that leads to the whole tradition conversation, like traditional Wing Chun over today's Wing Chun. Traditional Wing Chun will have a problem surviving in today's climate where punching is more furious and faster. People have more knowledge on punching. They have more knowledge on the body, on how to get more power out of it. So, you know, old school Wing Chun may not be as practical because we're punching differently, but, you know, or traditional Wing Chun. So I think that's where the traditional conversation and what can work now kind of run into each other. And yeah, I think you always have to keep looking at the timeline you're in. You know, right now we're in the timeline of guns, pull out a bullet. We're about 50 years from now. What if there's like a laser gun? What would a bullet mean to a laser? Like you know, like you totally almost have an impractical weapon. It's like you still shooting bullets. Like we're on lasers now. You know what I'm saying? Like before you can think about pulling the trigger, my laser just cut you in half. It's traveling way faster. So I think, you know, practicality is going to change with the time.
Yeah, and a lot of people get stuck over it. You know, like, oh, this can't work for real, or that can't work for real. I've seen things that will boggle your mind, like how this is not real, this is fake. Like, but you're looking at it with your eyes, and you can't believe it. That given enough amount of training, if you train something for 30, for 40 years, you'll be able to pull it off in almost any situation. Especially if you constantly apply and perfect it. So it's not really that this can't work or that can't work. It's, are you willing to put in the amount of time that it will require for it to work?
Yes. Wilson Piss, you know, we always talk about things that when when you train, you always come up with these sayings. It's not, does a martial art work? It's, do you work? I think that's the question you got to pose to yourself, because all martial arts work. You know, for what they're saying and what they're trying to tell you, they work. But you have to work to get them to work. And that's what most people miss the boat. They jump and grab these martial arts like they're like new add-ons that are going to work by themselves. Like, oh, I do Muay Thai, so anybody comes to me, the kick comes out. Nah, this is a whole lot about being under pressure and executing technique. You know, being on unstable ground and executing technique. So all of those things have to be investigated before you start talking about real time. And that's where the Kung Fu Hustle is at. With that movie, The Kung Fu Hustle, is that people are trying to tell you that they can sell you a lifetime of information in 6-month program. I'll make you ready to do Muay Thai. You know, so that's the real Kung Fu Hustle, because to make these things work, they need a large amount of time that a lot of people don't have. You know.
Yeah. Another thing I think, other than time, is the dedication that you got to put in. Not a lot of people realize you cannot pursue martial arts out of suffering. You cannot do something that you hate for a prolonged period of time. You gotta be a little crazy. You gotta love it. You gotta love feeling the burn. You gotta love training so hard that at the end of the day you can barely lift your hands and your legs, and you're feeling completely satisfied because that lack of feeling in your limbs tells you how hard you work and what you can expect out of it. And if you don't, then you're not gonna stick with it. I think it takes a certain kind of person to really be dedicated and advance in martial arts.
Definitely, yes. You have to have a love of pain in a way that most people don't to be a true martial artist, because you're going to become very acquainted with the pain, the pain train and the pain friends, and the good thing about training is the one thing that helps your technique. Like, you know, if you hit me with a left hook, how do I counter if the pain is too excruciating? But after sparring, it's not so bad. Then, bang, I'm countering. You know, now I'm coming back with that right hand counter, because my whole thoughts on what the left hook was are now diminished, and I'm willing to face it. And that's the good thing about fighting, is that, you know, you face pain, and life only knows one real way of teaching. Life doesn't have like a classroom with a white chalk. It teaches through pain. Most good lessons come through pain. You know, all of the other lessons can be subjected to falseness. You know, you can learn something through joy, and really believe that the people around you love you, but they don't. And they be plotting your demise, and you'll die, and you won't see it coming. Because joy is you know, it conceals, you know, it covers, it clouds. Pain, good old pain takes you down to the element level. Like, even the animal
makes your senses more vivid.
Even the animal with way less intelligence than us learns through pain. They walk up to the water, crocodile jumps out, grabs their friend, pulls him in the water. When that animal walks up to the water again, the pain of losing his friend, the pain of seeing that, now he cautiously approaches the water. He scans the water. So pain is the lesson of survival. Without pain, survival would be almost impossible, because you would be doing the dumb shit over and over and over again. Like, the fact that your arm hurts when you twist it in an unnatural way is your body's telling you, hey, stop that. That doesn't go that way. And, you know, so, you know, pain, people who train in martial arts, we become very familiar with pain. And thus, we learn, you know, the good ones learn faster, where they, you know, the warrior's path is the quickest way into enlightenment. There's a reason for that. You know, the warrior stays, you know, he learns to deal with pain when others are kind of like trying to run from it.
Yeah. I think a big part of that is what you mentioned earlier, as you were saying, until we get in a ring or we spar with someone, we really don't know. Until we get hit by a hook, we don't know what getting hit by a hook means. And it's like when learning to drive. First time you're behind the wheel, your hands are shaking, you're nervous, you're making exaggerated moves, spinning the wheel. When it's time to slow down, you slam on the brakes and you hit your nose in the wheel. But after a while, you start to relax, because now you've done it. Now you understand what sitting behind the wheel means. And the same thing in martial arts. You can't understand what a technique is until you do two things with it. You use it to hit someone, and someone hits you with it. Both of those things need to happen for you to really understand it.
Must. There is no. When we look at Kung Fu, and we see what Kung Fu is at today, and back in this heyday, it had a bigger hit. Even karate had a bigger hit back then. But why? Because if we look back, those guys was fighting. There were karate guys who faced boxers. They was mixing it up. Like, there was more experimental back then than that's happening right now. They'll throw you in the ring. Let's see, throw the judo guy with the boxer. Let's see what happens. Oh shit! This is what happens when you put a master judo with a master boxer. Like, they were fighting. So back then, karate was very high level. Someone will kick you in the face, knock you out. You know what I'm saying? Boxing, high level. But all of those things were high level because of the spar. Kung Fu began to lose its edge because it got caught up in the drills. Even boxing loses the edge because you'll see a Mayweather drill, pat, 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 and now Mayweather has everybody in the world doing it, and none of them know how to take a punch. Look at all them pit pat patters. As soon as they stop pit patting, punch them in the face and see if they can pit pat. No pit pat, no pit pat. What happens to pit pat, pit pat, pit pat? Because they sparring also conquers the chemical thing that happens to you in the fight. Like drills only get to the upper level, superficial levels. They don't get deep under the skin and into the tendons and the bone marrow where sparring does, because you have to make these like natural reactions. You can't think, oh, he just punched me in the face with the, what was that, a jab? Let me go with the overhand right. No, it's from sparring that as soon as you feel it, you go. Mm-hmm. You touch and go.
Yeah.
Touch and go. And like you said, that thing has to be built by repetition, not through a drill. There's no drill that can get you ready for the chemical reaction. Endorphins, cutting off nerve centers, adrenaline flushed into your bloodstream. All of those things are meant to choke good technique if you haven't sparred.
Yeah. I think another thing is, as martial artists, when you get yourself into sparring, you have to put yourself into sparring. That's like trying to learn to drive without sitting in a car and driving on the street, like just doing it virtually. That it's not going to work when the time comes, because you need to develop those quick reflexes of being able to allow your body to make a decision before your mind even thinks of it.
Yeah.
And in sparring, I think the fear is the biggest obstacle that we have. And fear, the reason the fear exists is to fill in the gap of uncertainty.
Yeah.
When there's uncertainty, there's fear.
Yeah.
And the only way to dispel uncertainty and also fear indirectly is through direct application, through experience.
Preparation.
Once you have experience, your fear will go down bit by bit. And in addition to that, that's why I say, like, you gotta get hit. You gotta get hit. And when you spar, you gotta get hit and you gotta like it.
Yeah.
It's that's another thing. You gotta like it, because if you don't like it, you're gonna be afraid of it. And if you're afraid of it, you're doing the opposite thing, what you're supposed to do, which is mitigate your fear factor.
Yeah.
And so you gotta look at sparring, even fighting, sometimes like a game.
Yeah.
You're going around, you're moving around, and like, boom, you got hit. Nice. Let me get back to you. Let me answer that.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have that in you.
When you're watching National Geographic, I love those moments when it's you have the tiger, mama tiger out with the baby tigers, and the baby tigers are going at each other, rolling down the hill. And then you hear the narrator. Now, this may look like play to you, but this is highly functional, because it's these same moves that this cat will use to take down prey 3 times his size. Those cats are sparring. They're getting their body ready for the next level of jumping on the back of a wildebeest and totally flipping it in the air while biting at his neck. So even nature says that's not a move it can just bust out. It has to practice that move through its adolescent stage. So when it gets older, it mastered the grab and flip. And it uses its baby brother and siblings as the first testers of these methods.
Yeah.
So nature lays out everything. Nature is pretty much telling us what to do. If you want to be proficient at something, you need to play and practice.
Yeah.
You need the practice of play. And that to us is sparring. Like you said, you gotta love to be hit. It has to become play to you. Like if fighting is not like a playground to you, then you're in the wrong place, and you're going to totally be pushed out. And
it's like what Bruce Lee said. Fighting, when you fight, you gotta look at it like a play, but play seriously.
Yes, and it doesn't mean that you're without fear. There's no, on to this day, there's no sparring match that I haven't engaged in that I didn't have fear, because like you said, fear is the dynamic shift of the uncertainty. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't have to hit you like a bad thing. It's your warning of your body saying, we are now going into uncertain areas. We don't really know what's going on, but we're prepared. See, preparation pushes you forward. Like, I don't know what the hell's going to happen in this sparring match, but I just did 30,000 hours, so let's see. You know, I'm willing to test it because of my 30,000 hours behind me. You know, so you greet that thing. You greet the fear, the butterflies. Like I said, every sparring match I go to, and it never fails. I've done it thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times over. I feel that thing. But that's also the thing that lets me know, to me, that I'm about to turn on. Yeah, I'm about to walk straight past uncertainty and make it a certain ass whipping for whoever's standing in front of me.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that only can be cured through sparring and play. That there's no other area, no other simulation. Like even in the Army, you know, they can show them pictures all day, but eventually they gotta stick a gun in their hand and they're gonna have to go out there and shoot. Like we can show you pictures of how the positions, the hold, where you need to breathe, how your breath should be going. But eventually, here's the gun, go out there and shoot. And then when they get that down, now they're ready to shoot under, you know, high pressure situations. So, no, I think that thing is really the more than just fighting. What you learned about that's actually the true success to life, is that if you turn that thing on and fire that gun at any area of your life, it will clean it up. You know, if you look at everything as I'm engaged, I'm going to learn through engagement instead of disengagement. Because as people, we have, and I figured this out with myself. It's like when you run into a bad situation or a bad person, one of the first things we do is say, I'm just going to cut that person out of my life. I'm going to get them out of there. That's the easy way. Disengage. You know, engagement is better. Like I read about Don King. He said one of the best things. He said, man, usually people see a room of people they don't like, they turn the other way. He said, not me. I see a room full of people I like, I'll go up in that room. I'll get all up under you, make you so uncomfortable, make you make bad decisions, take your money from you. Because you're uncomfortable, not me.
Yeah. You
view that situation. So what happens when you're in an awkward situation? You can't be your best. You can't perform at a high level when someone has you in an awkward position.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You have to learn to engage when it comes to those things that you don't like to do, and disengage with the things you do like to do. That becomes the whole flip side, is that things that you like to do, you gotta learn disengagement. Like Wilson always tell me, yeah, Jamal, you got a good left hook. What about that right hand though? Like he didn't want to talk about what you did good. You do it. What type of conversation is that? What about that bullshit ass right hand you throw though? Somebody's gonna knock your ass out. And this is how he spoke to me. But he told me one time, I am a mirror that can only see your fuck ups. Don't ask me what you do good. And with that statement, what he was trying to say is like, we only here to work on where you're fucked up at, not the good area. And that's kind of a good way of looking at it. Where most people, they run to their good side, and you totally forget about your bad sides until they come out in awkward situations. You know, like they find out that you wear pink socks in the girdle or some shit because the wind blew off, you know, like in a bad situation. You know, so, no, instead of letting that shit happen, just put it out there. So I think that type of thing of martial art starts to go to the whole part of your life, and that's what fighters like Masashi and all of these other fighters that got deep started seeing, is that the fighting goes way past fighting the opponent. You start fighting yourself in every bad area that you can find in yourself.
Yeah.
You know. So like me, I'm a terrible phone person. I stay trying to kick that dude's ass, but he's good. But one day I'm gonna get him, and I'm gonna be a good phone person. I'm gonna totally kick that dude's ass. That's the terrible phone guy in me, and get him up out of there, and I'll be a better phone person. But that's the struggle of the fight, is that you see your opponent. He's just a reflection of the things inside of you that you need to face and fight.